Hi everyone, welcome to our new video series. My name is Jan-Krzysztof and I'm thrilled to be reunited with fellow Magnus Carlsen's trainers, seconds, Peter Heine Nielsen, Magnus Carlsen's head coach, and Laurent Fressinet, Magnus Carlsen's French coach, are both here, and we will be going through the World Championship match 2021. Our experiences with it, the games, what we prepared, where we felt things went well, where we felt things didn't go well. Peter, we have different perspectives because we were in different locations.
Very much. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys about it because you were in Thailand during all the match and I was in Dubai with Magnus and his non-chess team. So I see some kind of debriefing where we will discuss what was the mood in Dubai, what was happening in the technical department in Thailand, and we got to sort of basically compare notes and get the two kind of inside looks from the match.
Very much so. And Laurent, we are actually in your private home. Thanks for having us.
It's a big pleasure to welcome both of you, and I'm sure it will be interesting to talk to you guys about the match.
Likewise.
So we hope you guys enjoy the series with our behind the scenes insights. See you then.
Welcome everyone to another Banter Blitz. Today I'm going to be playing my D4 repertoire here on Chessable, so I'm just going to spam my links in the chat. Let me just start here. And we're going to start off by playing with Monkey King, who knows exactly how to play with me. I don't know if you can see, but his avatar is Liu Kim, or Dr. Janice, or the Shitty Walk guy from South Park. So, Mr. Shitty Walk, let's go. He's actually a fantastic character. But let's see. All right, so Liu Kim is playing the Tarrasch against me, which makes a lot more sense once the knight has been committed to c3. But here, black has lost a lot of options, so I think white ends up with a pretty good position. And if I recall, I believed it was actually important here after bishop takes c5 to start with the move a3. So he doesn't even want to take the pawn back, which I'm a little surprised by. I suspect I can just try to hang on to it. So let's go bishop e3. If he plays knight g4, I can probably go bishop d4. And then after knight takes d4, I can choose between going just knight takes d4 back and knight c3 with good pressure against d5, or I can try to hang on to the pawn with queen takes d4, which feels a bit riskier, so I'm probably just going to go with knight takes d4. All right, so he goes knight e4. I think I can pretty happily play knight c3. If he wants to take c3, I think, despite my structure becoming a little crippled, I don't think his structure is any better, and the extra pawn probably will count for something. Because, like, for example, after knight c3, bc3, the way he would want to proceed would be to attack my c5 pawn, but if he goes queen a5, I can always take on d5, and I should remain a pawn up. But if he goes bishop e6 first to prepare for queen a5, then I can go knight d4, and he cannot play bishop c5, so I think this already just looks really good for white. I think Liu Kim has misplayed it. He does make good chicken, though. Alright, so knight d4. This was my big idea, is that now he cannot play bishop takes c5. Although I guess he couldn't have anyway here. So I can prepare for knight e6 and then bishop h3. So he does that one, which feels like it should walk straight into queen b3. Bishop c5, queen b7, I don't really believe the compensation, so I'm just going to go queen b3 and start attacking his stuff. It's possible I had something better, but also after bishop c5, bishop takes d5, no, then bishop d4 is bad, but this just sort of looks good. Queen b7 is coming, and then if knight d4, I can take with either the bishop or the queen or the pawn. Probably with the pawn, actually, because I don't want to. Actually, wait, am I getting my queen trapped? After bishop c5, queen b7, knight d4. If I go c d4, rook a b8. My queen actually runs out of squares there. Yeah, queen c6, rook f c8. I can always just take on c5 with a fine position, but yeah, this was a little careless. I think after bishop c5, he holds together. I do have an option to play knight e6, f e6, and then and maybe then queen takes b7 is good. Or even bishop takes d5 is a thought. So he goes for queen a6, but that feels pretty flimsy. So just rook a b1 feels extremely tempting. I'm not going to overthink it. It just seems like this is the move I should play. And he's just not in time to attack my weak pawns before I make trouble. I mean, it's not like you could say that c3 and c5 are weak pawns, but also d5 and b7 are weak pawns, and I'm a pawn up, so I think the pawn up will matter. Why do you think Karpov never able to get beyond 2700? Wasn't his peak rating like 2780 or 90 or something? I mean, of course he got over 2700. That's a ridiculous question. Okay, so here bishop f4 is just sort of begging to be played, so I'm going to do it. But no, he's clearly not 2700 strength anymore. You can't play chess at that level at that age forever. And also, I think Karpov's style doesn't age as well, because he's so anti-computer and so thematic and not preparation-based, which was much easier to get away with in an era when computers were not as prevalent as they are now. But yeah, here I should be in fantastic shape. You should probably try bishop takes c5, just, I mean, it should just lose, like knight c6 or something. Alright, so now we take on b7, and c6 is loose, so he has to exchange the queens, and in fact, I think not only am I taking a second pawn, he's going to be forced to play knight takes d4, which fixes my structure too, and then it's obviously over. So I managed to beat Liu Kim this time around. I do like my good shitty walk, but you know. So here I have 2 pawns up in a completely crushing position with no weaknesses, and I take the open file, and my bishop will go to d6, other rook to b1, I take on a7 whenever I want it, and yeah, this game's done. Okay, it does not scare me very much. Let's go a4 and fix this pawn. I can always just shove my pawn to c7 whenever I feel like it, but just felt might as well restrict black's pieces a bit first. Alright, let's put the pawn on c7, enough goofing around. Okay, 6, sure. I said I was going to play c7. Alright, so that's at least a little bit annoying. Let's go rook b6, because I want to secure the d6 square for my bishop so that it cannot get harassed with g5. So he trades, but now my bishop comes to d6. Alright, so rook b8. And I'm threatening bishop d5, among other things. So here, bishop d5 is just the end, right? I think it is. Let's do it. It's been over for a while, but now it's really over. All right, good game, Liu Kim. Let's see who else wants to play with me. Oh, Wendy Testaberger wants to play. All right, Wendy, we're playing. Not just Wendy Testaberger, angry Wendy Testaberger. But wait, I'm supposed to be playing white. Yeah, so this is guys. You have to challenge me with the black pieces today because I'm playing white. I'm playing my d4 repertoire. So Wendy, if you want a rematch, just make sure to challenge me with white. But you guys know how to get me. All right, we'll go with Chess Beast Austria. Okay, so let's see if we can do this. All right, So Chess Beast Austria is going to play against my d4 repertoire, where I played with knight f3 and then knight c3, the sort of classic 3 knights Queen's Gambit. So he's playing for the semi-Tarrasch. I don't know if he'll play cd4 or with knight d5. So he goes knight d5. And this is the more classical semi-Tarrasch. And then I think white. Whoa, that one I don't know about. Okay. I don't know any of the theory here, but I think queen takes d4 should probably be the maximum punishment. With the point that if knight c3, queen c3, it will become hard for black to develop his pieces. So here I thought was I could go bishop b5. I don't know, I'm sort of freestyling this, but it's sort of hard for me to believe black will equalize playing this way. So yeah, queen c3, and now his development becomes very awkward because his bishop on f8 cannot move, which makes it hard for him to get his pieces out and get castled. And I could even imagine throwing bishop h6 at him. All right, so he doesn't believe me about this bishop not moving. I don't really see a problem with queen g7, honestly. I guess his plan is bishop h6, bishop f6, but then I can put the queen on h6 so that he can't castle long so easily. So let's just take this one. Okay, that one I'm not scared of at all. I thought he was going to try at least bishop f6, but let's just go bishop h6 and get ready for queen h7 next. Had he gone bishop f6, I think it would have been important to put the queen on h6, because otherwise if I play queen g3 or something, he can go queen b6 and quickly castle queenside, but if I had been able to tether his queen to the bishop on f6, I think I'm good. And yeah, here he should just be falling apart. Yeah, so let's just take this one, and then take h7 next, when I will take his exchange as well. So I'm up 2 pawns on an exchange, which is clearly enough material to win. Right, that's not going to help either. So good game, Chess Beast Austria. Has Wendy made a proper challenge? Oh, Wendy has made a proper challenge. All right, Wendy Testerberger, here we go. See what you can do to me. All right, so we're going to try the d4 repertoire again. That's just what I'm going to be playing this entire day. Seeing if I don't make a total fool of myself. All right, Wendy Testerberger. Another semi-Tarrasch. Let's see if this guy wants. So, this guy seems to have a better idea of what he is doing. And now I have to see if I can even remember how I recommended playing in the course, because I haven't faced much semi-Tarrasch as of late. I know that I was advocating the main line with rook a d1. I played d5 here against Akshat Chandra in a Blitz tournament recently, but in the stressable course I was advocating this main line, and now I just have to see if I can remember anything at all. So yeah, h6 is, I think, actually the best move. Everyone plays rook e8, but I recently played h6 against David Navarra. And now I have to remember what I gave, which is the hard part. I think it's rook e3, but might be... I thought it was rook e3, but I'm struggling to remember. All right. What did I recommend here? It's either h3 or rook e3. Let's just go with h3. I think this is sort of right. There is some position I just can't remember. I'm sorry, guys. But we're going to play h3, which is just generally a useful move. So he goes knight f6, and now we go queen f4. And the big points of this line is, yeah, he gets this move queen c7, which is kind of important that now, because his rook is not stuck. If he had played rook e8 in this position, he would not be able to play knight d7, but because that rook is now there, so yeah, here and now I think I'm just going to go try to give mate. It's sort of unlikely this will work, but it sort of feels like this is what you have to try. And in general, you have to be pretty aggressive as white in this variation, because fundamentally black's position is totally sound. But yeah, I can try to just lift a rook and give mate, which is not that easy to deal with. I mean, black definitely should be fine here somehow, but I think in practice it can be quite hard to handle his side of the board. So, I mean, his king looks pretty lonely. Let's see if Pan-Urge figures out what to do. Could consider like knight e5, d5. Yeah, so of course I take with the pawn now. I don't want an endgame, and I'm going to try to lift the rook to g3 and attack him. Be a little surprising if this works, honestly. It feels a little caveman-esque, but we'll see. Now it's just sort of meet rook g3 with king h8. So he plays king h8 directly. So I think his point is that he wants to play f6. So if rook g3, he can go f6. But let's say I start by putting the rook on d1. I'm threatening rook d7. If he plays rook d8, I can at least consider taking twice and taking f7. And otherwise, if I can go rook g3 next and then meet f6 with rook d6, I think my attacking chances will get pretty good. So I don't like king h8. It feels like this should be the wrong move. All right, so we're going to go rook g3. This feels pretty thematic. And then probably going to play rook d6 next against almost any move. Like if rook d8, I will surely play rook d6. Okay, that one I can't play rook d6 against because he is threatening e4. And it's a little bit obnoxious, actually, that I will be unable to lift my other rook now via d3, but I still think I should have reasonable chances here. And in fact, if he plays rook d8, I think I can take it and go rook g7 and queen f6. All right, so he's going that way. Very logical. He wants to gain space, so it's not that easy to actually... Yeah, the problem is I'm struggling to bring my other rook into the attack here. So we'll go king h2, and just feels like it's a move we're going to have to play eventually anyway. So rook d6, and then this bishop can come back to d1. It's definitely not easy to actually break through here, though. Black's position is annoyingly solid. But maybe I'll be able to make some trouble somehow. We'll see. Kind of feels like my pieces are all wrong, though. Now his pawn is starting to become a little scary. So let's start with queen e3 to try to keep it at bay. And, I mean, of course, if I end up putting my rook on g3 and blocking it in and then getting promoted a pawn without a fight because I didn't actually give mate, that's how things go really wrong, but... And that may be what will happen, but we'll see. So there... Yeah, it's a good move. But he's not actually threatening b3 yet. So I'm actually going to bring my bishop towards b1, which feels like a very passive square, but it will keep his b-pawn from becoming a queen, and it also helps me play f4, f5 later. All right, so he goes for rook c8. But I thought at least here now I can at least pretend to play f4, f5. This bishop on c2 does not look so terrible all of a sudden. And once f5 comes, then maybe I can actually hope to give mate. So this was definitely very clumsy on my part so far. All right, so there, bishop b1. Ah, shoot, but he's going to go rook c3, yeah? Can I just ignore him and play f5? Feels a bit much. We're going to go bishop d3 to try to keep this under control. Make sure that he cannot play rook c3 to force off an exchange of my attacking pieces, and I'm just going to throw f5, f6 and hope for the best. So we take this one, and then f5 and f6 is coming. And we'll see if he can make a queen before I mate him. I'm not sure he will, honestly. It looks pretty dangerous for black all of a sudden. So he takes with the queen, sure. But this feels like he's going to get mated. I'm already threatening rook g7 and f6, I think. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, rook g7 is just mate. I go rook g7, king g7, f6. He cannot play king anywhere. I go queen g3, right? King f8, queen g3. He cannot take e5. I'm pretty sure this is just checkmate. Queen e5 is check. How am I so stupid? But luckily, this is still good. I somehow missed that queen e5 was check. And now I think I should still be winning here. So say I go f6. And then maybe even go f e6. fe6 doesn't seem as great. Let's go f6, and now I have this very sly threat of rook d5. We'll see if he notices it, but it's hard to stop. Yeah, he timed out, but I think rook d5 is coming. Yeah, clearly here black had lost control anyway. Maybe I could have played better somewhere, but yeah. All right, fun stuff. Good game, Wendy. I can see why you're so angry, but very good game to you. And let's see, who else wants to play? We'll play with Dangerous Ride. I don't think I've played with you in a while. All right, Dangerous Ride, let's do this. Yeah, so I played that last game pretty aggressively, which was, I don't know if it was necessary or not. All right, let's go with knight c3. Yeah, that's what I gave in the repertoire. Okay, so he's playing a more traditional Queen's Gambit decline. No more semi-Tarrasch, at least for the moment. And here, after e3, some b6. I can't remember a thing. I'm pretty sure I gave bishop d3 here, which I played against Vichy. And then bishop b7, I think, is supposed to be inaccurate because of cd5. I thought they're supposed to play dc4 and bishop a6. And yeah, here I'm very happy with this Carlsbad structure where black's bishop ended up on b7. So we'll start with just rook c1. And I think white has a pretty nice position here. As I said in the course many times, I don't believe the moves b6 and d5 get along together very well. All right, so just wondering how aggressive I want to be. I think I can be pretty to the point now. So yeah, here like queen h3, I think you can take on e5 and go knight e4. But let's say I just take on d7. And on queen d7, I can go bishop e5, and I'm not threatening bishop f5, and he cannot play g6. And it's actually incredibly annoying to stop bishop f5. It feels like this should be pretty nice for me. Yeah, so he does that. Let's go bishop f5 and ask this queen where she wants to go before anything else. I don't think she really wants to go to the c file, but yeah, here I thought I could go bishop c7, and now I think I'm taking his stuff. So white should win material. If he has to play rook a8, that's very sad. I think he should probably play c4. And then I think I'm not actually going to take the rook. I'd rather just take on b6. Because if I take the rook, the first rule of any exchange sacrifice is how good are the rooks. And if I had taken on d8 after c4, my rooks are not great. And he can send b5, b4, and his structure is better. But if I had just taken b6, I'd be a clean pawn up. So, and it ended up in something similar. All right, so now I just have to be a little careful not to get my bishop trapped. So let's just bring him back to c7 so that he can come to e5. It also stops any hope of rook b8. And I think I should just be a very healthy pawn up. Someday I can play b3 or target the d5 pawn or whatever. It should just be winning somehow. All right, so bishop c8, but I think if I take this one and go bishop e5, I'm going to take his d5 pawn. So that's going to win another critical pawn, and now black is very much done for. So yeah. Yeah, good game, Penurge. It's a very tough... the semi-Tarrasch, I think it's a totally sound opening, but it always struck me as one that makes a lot more sense in classical chess than in Rapid, because... or in Blitz, because your king just sort of comes under fire once white gets the whole center and starts throwing stuff. And I have no doubt it's fundamentally sound. Like, Surya wrote a fantastic repertoire, I know. And, but when your king comes under fire, you need time to defend. Like, if you had time to defend that and you just promote your queenside pawns, that's good stuff. All right, so good game, Dangerous Ride. Let's play with Ron Hay from Sweden. No, I can't do that. You guys have to challenge me with white only. All right, so we'll play with Fj Amezcua from Mexico, it looks like. So good luck to you, Fj Amezcua. All right, so we'll continue playing the d4 repertoire, see if I can manage a clean slate today. All right, so Queen's Indian. I gave a pretty boring line here, honestly, but, I mean, boring is fine. I mean, I don't care much about boring, I care about winning. So now I have to remember how this goes, which I don't. I think I said castle, it might have been knight c3 there, but I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. So guys, just don't mix b6 and d5, it always seems to ruin black's position. So here now, I probably could look for some kind of maximum punishment somehow, but I'm just going to stick with a simple developing move. e4 was possible, but after knight f6, I would have had to play e5. And here, I'm just sort of hoping to go rook fd1 and rook ac1 and put my rooks on good central squares, and I probably missed out on some kind of maximum punishment, but I still think white is pleasantly better here. He should go knight d7 and prepare for c5. Yeah, so he heard me. But we'll go rook fd1, anticipating that c5 might come next. He probably should play it anyway, but after, say, c5, I can, for example, play knight e4. So that one I don't think makes much sense. I'm just going to keep putting my rooks in the center. And then I can go like knight e5 here. And black squares are starting to become very weak. Next up, I might be ready for knight takes d5 and then knight c6. But if he plays c5 now and I go knight d5, I will be able to play dc5 and give him a bad structure. I think this knight f6 move was really bad. It gave me the e5 square for the knight and it made it harder for black to play c5. So here, white should be better. He can take on c3, but like after queen c3, it's just bad. Yeah, so he does that. But now I think if I'm able to slam the c6 square, white should be in very good shape. So he plays it that way. So now I'm actually going to go e4 and then slam the knight into c. Oh, but he can go knight e7 here. This much I sort of forgot about, but still then I can just like play queen e3 and he has no space. Yeah. So my big point here was I can go knight c6 and dominate the c file. And someday I will play e5, and it's very important that he won't be able to play knight d5 as easily. So he takes instead, which is fine. But now I should just be able to triple on the c file and start taking his stuff. There's a funny line here, for example, if queen d7, queen c2, rook fd8, I'm thinking I can try d5. So that's very passive. Let's start with queen c3. And then hope for rook c1 next. I guess, yeah, rook e7 I thought was probably his idea, but it's sort of hard to believe this is going to work. So rook c1, rook d7, good d5 and bishop h3 looks pretty good. Knight e4 then, queen d4, knight c5, kind of annoying. So it feels like I should be able to knock him out pretty soon though. If rook c1, rook c7, e5, his knight probably has to go to d5. I take it, rook takes, rook c7, take, queen c7 at the end, but he goes like g5, and he will only be one pawn down in the rook ending and probably have good saving chances. So actually this is a little tougher than I gave it credit for. Maybe I was careless. Let me try this again. Rook c1, rook d7, d5, ed5, bishop h3, knight e4, queen d4, knight c5. If bishop d7, queen d7, my rook is trapped, so that sucks. It's actually tough. Alright, I'm gonna go for the rook ending. It's probably not the best, but it is a pawn up, and I should have at least reasonable chances. The reason... So, yeah, we'll see if he can hold this. It sort of feels like there are some drawish consequences after rook d7, and then e5, knight d5 takes d5, rook c7, take everything, g5, rook c6, rook d4, rook b6, and a5. My suspicion is that's probably a draw, but I think he will suffer a lot, and, you know, if I can't put away a pawn up ending, rook ending against 1500, then no, you guys have no reason to listen to me banter anyway. So, this feels like it should be reasonably promising. And after e5, I don't think he can play anything other than knight d5. So let's see. He does go for this. I don't think he can avoid knight d5 here. So he does play it, and then... Okay, but e takes d5. Now it's just too easy. I can take b6, and... He needed to play rook d5, and he would have reached a rook ending with one pawn less, but with pretty good drawing chances. And here I think he's just busted. He's lost a pawn anyway, and has no counterplay, horrible structure, and unable to trade stuff. So I think white should just win easily. I guess he can try c5, but rook a6 is fine, for example. So is dc5. I'll just spam my links in the chat once again. Just for people who want to play like this with white. Let me just put them in the chat. And just a reminder, I'm not answering questions on YouTube or Twitch, only on Chess24. So make sure to ask your questions there or interact with me there. So he plays for queen e7, but now I take a second pawn and he has absolutely no activity. So he tries that, but I think I can just take it and then like everything should win here, but I'm just going to start with queen f3, attacking both f6 and d5. So he goes for this queen exchange. So I might try to mate him under other circumstances, but I've never been one to just shy away from easily winning endgames. That always struck me as a way to bring games to their conclusions without any monkey business. So let's say we take this one and then take this one and then just we can go a4 and c4, and yeah, this ending is obviously over. All right, so a good game, Fj Amezcua. Let's play someone else. We'll play with. All right, Jup, you want to play? Jugamos. d4. Let's see if Jup always liked playing a very solid line in the Slav against my repertoire, which. But here it looks like he's playing something else, so we'll see what he has in mind. He goes for knight bd7. I think I gave bishop f4 here, but again, this is just a huge exercise. Can I actually remember a thing that I recommended? So bishop b4. I thought the main move was dc4 there. Let's take on d5 and play some kind of Carlsbad like this. But I don't know anything anymore. Don't get old, guys. It sucks. All right, so he wants to play some Rogozin structure, but my understanding is when black plays c4, if we get a structure like this one, it all comes down to this b1 h7 diagonal, and if black takes it, he's better, and otherwise he's often in trouble. So here, because I got that diagonal first, I tend to think white should be doing reasonably well. So, for example, if I start with knight d2, this stops him from putting anything on e4. He cannot play b5. I mean, the real problem is, like, my bishop on c2 is just so much better than his bishop on c8. And if those guys were off the board, I think black would have a fantastic position. You could just start throwing a5 and b5, but yeah. All right, so I have to, like, make sure not to blunder this pawn, but it should be pretty easy. I can start with queen c1, which stops him from taking on c3 because of bishop h7. And then next up, I can go for like queen b2 and then a4 or something and try to play on the queen side. I can sort of push him on both sides here. So yeah, knight b6, but then I think I should be able to play a4. And his knight ends up looking pretty dumb. If bishop d7, I probably have to go queen a3, but that's far from the end of the world. And at some point, his queen can just get trapped, like if he's not careful. So I go queen a3, and now... like, my white squared bishop is so much better than his, and he was not able to get b5 here. So if this feels like black ended up in a bad version of the Rogozin. But I will need... it's still very solid, and I will need to find a plan. Okay, so knight e4 I think is a good move. Because if I take with the bishop, it removes the guard of a4. But I might not even care. I'm just wondering, if I go bishop e4, d e4, and then rook to b1... bishop a4, knight c4, looks pretty good. I'm gonna actually... let's see, if it takes and he gets knight d5, I might not care about that either. Alright, this is a little controversial, but I'm gonna try playing like this. It might just completely spit in my face, but it also could turn out okay. So my big point is that he doesn't have a great capture on a4. Because if knight a4, I can go rook b7, and if bishop a4, I can go knight c4. So you could play like rook a c8 here, which is probably the best move. But for example, if I go queen b4, I think he has to trade the queens. I take with the rook. If knight d5, I have rook b7. So I think here, like this position, he really needs to be able to anchor his knight on d5. That's how black would get a reasonable position, and I just don't think he's going to be able to because like he was able to gain the space with a4, and b7 is hard to defend. So he can go something like take, bishop c6, I think is his best option. Then I should probably just move my bishop so that I can meet knight d5 with rook takes c4. So yeah, all right. So he goes for queen f5 instead. But now, as long as I don't just walk straight into some big problem with knight d5, I feel like I should be better. So just have to think how I want to handle this. So if I go, let's just tuck this bishop away on g3. At least knight d5 is a little annoying here because after queen b7, he can play knight c3 when he gets some counterplay. So on knight d5, I'm actually tempted to play queen a5, provoke him into playing b6. That doesn't seem great either, honestly. Maybe after knight d5, black's just fine and I have to go queen a3. But if I have to play queen a3, then he should definitely be okay. h5 I was not expecting. That does not mean it's a bad move, of course. Let's see, how do I handle this? I really don't want him to play knight d5 if I can help it. Am I actually scared of h4? I certainly don't think so. But if a5, then knight d5 is annoying. Let's start with rook a3 to overprotect my pawn. I don't think I'm scared of h4 yet. And then hopefully I can play a5 next and take on b7. But this game has been pretty sloppy, I think. Right, so he goes rook e6. He wants to mate me. But I don't think it'll work. So let's see. a5. He now has to go knight d5. I will take the b7 pawn. And then he cannot play bishop c6. So his bishop is actually loose here because he put the rook on e6. So he goes for rook g6, fair enough, but are you actually threatening anything? Let's say I go a6, and I'm hoping to play rook a5. If bishop c6, I can take on c8 and go rook g8, or rook b8 to end the attack immediately, and otherwise it looks pretty skeptical for black. So I don't think he's actually threatening anything here, and otherwise rook a5 is coming, so I like my position. Sort of hard to believe black can just throw his pieces and mate me like this. Alright, so he goes rook c6, but my thought was here rook a5 should be good. If rook b6, take, rook d5, rook b7, a b7, and I win. So I don't see it. What do we do after rook here? I thought this was winning. Like queen a8, rook b8 also looked pretty reasonable for what it's worth, but I thought this was to the point. So yeah. Rook b6, just everything wins. Rook b6, rook b6. I can also go queen d5 because I control the b1 square. So I think I'm just taking his stuff here. Although I guess to be fair, I don't have a threat just yet because rook c6 does block my queen. But maybe I'm like threatening queen a8, rook b8, and then just get behind and mate him. So threatening knight e4. I can't go knight e4. All right, so that one, I have so much trouble believing this is going to work. But still, let's calculate precisely because that's what professionals do. So queen a8, king h7, rook h8. Can go rook g4, rook h8 check, king g6, and I think he's sort of getting away. I really don't see what he has in mind if I take this, so I'm just going to let him educate me. He goes queen g4, but I thought I could just put the bishop back on g3. So knight c3. That was his big idea. All right, so if I go h3, where is this queen even going? This is a nice move to make lift as well. And he has to take care to keep his queen in touch with the bishop on d7. He doesn't believe me. He lets me take it. Fair enough, but I don't think this is going to work for black. So if, blundered, yeah, because I thought here I could go queen e8, rook h5, but actually he has the h5 square under control. But I think this should win still. So he can go and take my knight, but, oh, he takes my rook. Jesus. I didn't see that at all. What a day. All right, so now I'm totally lost, of course. Is there any way I can fight? I guess I just have to push my pawn to d6 and hope for the best. Feels like the best I can do. So that one, bishop c7, I don't know. Let's start with... So if I go queen d8 and then queen h4, that's probably saving it. So let's just do this. Check. Queen h4, if rook h6, I have queen e4. So he does want to continue the game. Props to him for that. But now... Alright, now I'm not sure I want to give him a draw. Let's see if he has an idea here. I missed something? Confused. So I think I've escaped with this one after blundering an entire rook, but so that's his idea, but my knight is safe, so I don't understand it. I think I'm good to go now. Yeah, now my knight is safe, and now my knight comes and kills him, I think is the long and the short of it. So let's go queen b7 and go knight d5. Whoa, geez, am I losing on time? Whoa, is there no increment this game? I didn't realize that. Shoot, okay, so I'm just going to flag. That's how the game's going to end. That's a bummer. Yeah, I'm just going to flag. I didn't realize there was no increment. Ah, that's a bummer. Alright, good game, Jep. I did not realize there was no increment, but if I would have played much faster. Alright, so let's play with Resident Evil from Norway. Good luck, Resident Evil. See if more people can flag me today. C4. Yeah, guys. I am not much of one for flagging. F3. Sorry. So we have another Queen's Indian here. We'll see if this guy plays it a bit better. Here, and then... Yeah, so I always thought this structure was just a little unpleasant for black. There's no doubt my pawn on b3 makes it a little less enticing, but I still think that white should have some chances. I mean, okay, so he actually allows the exchange of dark squared bishops. I suspect that's not in his favor. Also, I think that the bishop just has no future. It has to go... Yeah, so he trades the bishops, but this feels wrong to me. One of the big points and the reason that the pawn on b3 harms white's position is that it makes it hard to coordinate with rook c1 since black can harass it with bishop a3. That is no longer the case, and as a result, I think the position may be very difficult for black. When I go rook ac1, I'll have very easy pressure on the c-file. Alright, so he's playing with knight d7, but now I think my pieces are just good. Be a little careful about knight e4, but at least for the moment I have knight takes d5, I think. Alright, so rook e8. Do I believe that you're going to take me on e2? Not particularly. So rook fd1, if knight e4, take on d5, queen f4, queen d6 is good there. So actually knight e4 is I'm not worried about him taking on e2, but I'm a little worried about knight e4. So I'm going to play rook e1 so that knight e4 is no longer a concern. I can just move my queen. Because I don't want to let him play de4. That would change the structure in a way that I won't enjoy. So... And I don't think there's any monkey business here. So rook d8, sure. Let's go e3, make sure to keep this as solid as possible. Yeah, so he goes knight e4, but I don't think this helps much. I can just go queen c2. And it's very solid, and I'm threatening his d5 pawn, and c7 is loose behind it, so it just feels like there's a lot of weaknesses here. Yeah, so he takes that, but structurally this is very risky for black. He can try c5, I guess. I mean, he probably should, but he will still end up with hanging pawns, which is going to be a bit unpleasant to defend, I think. So he takes with the knight, taking an isolated pawn instead, which may be the best decision, but still it feels like... I mean, now I'm obviously better. It's just the question is how much. It might only be a little bit, but I mean, I still think it's very unpleasant for black. Should probably try rook c8. When it's a little annoying to stop knight d3. That one I don't think is great. The knight is just going to be misplaced here. He doesn't get counterplay with knight d3. And I'm ready for knight d4 next when moves like knight f5 or knight c6 are in the air. And he sort of needs counterplay to justify getting an isolated queen pawn, particularly when we still have white squared bishops, and mine in the long term will obviously be better than his because I can attack his weakness and he doesn't have much to do with his. So should be 7, sure, so we'll go knight d4, and now I have ideas to play either knight f5 or knight c6. So rook c8, this feels like it should lose, hang on. So if I go knight f5, the queen is short on squares. I think knight f5 just looks like a huge problem. Let's let him figure out how to deal with it. Yeah, so this one loses directly because I can take, and after knight f6, knight d6, he is forked. Yeah, take, and if rook b8, I can take his bishop, and he is mated on the back rank. This one is pretty clean. So now I take the bishop, and we go give mate. Resident Evil has left the game. Okay, that's one thing, guys. Don't do that. Like, you're just making... If you want to keep playing on in lost positions, that is your right. Like, I mean, it's a little annoying, but like that's absolutely your right and fine. But if you leave the game instead of resigning, you are making other people wait in line when you're not actually continuing the game. So I find that obnoxious. All right. Who else do we play with? Let's play with Power of Knights. See if you can make some knights work. All right, Power of Knights. Good luck. All right, so here, c4, let's see what this guy wants. He wants a Benoni, but... And Benoni is actually pretty annoying, because if you don't remember your stuff with white, you can get in trouble, but I definitely liked this this Knight's Tour variation, so to speak, and I thought... So now here the big point is, can I remember a thing? I'm pretty sure a4 is good. Now, the question is, how do I coordinate my pieces? So yeah, here, I think I wanted to go h3. But I don't remember. I know there's this very weird move, knight db1, which regroups the knight towards a3 and stops black from playing g5. I forget what I'm given this course, so I'm just going to go with knight db1. Which is definitely weird, but I think it's actually really strong. Because black's big plan was to play g5 and try to bolster the knight on the e5 square, which now he cannot do. And this is the best way of doing it because we don't want to trade pieces now. And the knight will be able to regroup to a3, where it's very good at containing the b5 break as well as looking for knight c4 later. It's not that easy for black to play too, like, so he goes knight g4, but don't get it. I'm gonna go h3 and kick the knight. So he brings the knight back to there, and I guess his point is that he wants to get ready for f5, but this is very hard to believe. So I could play f4 right now with the point that after knight d7, because if he plays f5 and then I play f4, he's definitely going to put the knight on f7. So it might make some sense to play f4 now and try to make sure that the knight has to go back to d7, but yeah, let's go f4. And then he has to go back to d7, and this probably isn't that horrible for black, but I definitely think he's worse. So knight d7, I think I'll go. He has some annoying check on d4. I should probably start with bishop f3 just to be safe. Maybe bishop. I was thinking bishop d3, but then somehow I was worried about a check on d4 and some ill times knight f6 and knight g4 and queen h4 mate. It might be nice to have my bishop on the f3 square to keep that under control. So he should throw f5 here, which he does, but somehow still the structure with... If he had his knight on f7, his pieces would be jumping to life much faster than they presently are. Because now he can't, for example, go knight f6, while with the knight on f7 he could have. Here, if knight f6, I'll go e5. So, queen h4, aggressive, fair enough. Let's go bishop e3. Get ready for bishop f2 in some cases. He can play fe4 and he will win a pawn with bishop takes b2, but I'm very happy to give him that pawn because then I can go rook a2 and rook e2 later. But maybe he can actually go fe4, knight e4, and knight f5, because after bishop f2, queen f4, I thought I had g3, but I'm realizing now he has queen h6, which is a safe square. But even then, I still kind of think white should have good compensation. But he has to go fe4, nothing else makes any sense. So that one I don't think is great. Let's just start developing pieces to better squares. I mean, he's not going to play b5, so I don't get the point. Bishop d4, wow. Aggressive. So that's why he wanted to do this. He didn't want to allow knight b5. Still not sure I buy it. Maybe it works, though. So let's go knight f1. Seems like a nice regrouping to get my knight to take on e3. If he plays queen f4, I have queen d4, which is a nice little trick. Yeah, so he fell for it, but which is a shame because now I think he's just totally busted, while a second ago he had actually gotten counterplay, but now he's just a piece down. It's good game power of knights. Should have played pretty interesting that game. Let's play with Dr. Bokey. I don't think I've played much with you as of late. All right, Dr. Bokey, show me what you got. C4. All right, so in the Slav, I gave some pretty vegetarian lines in a couple spots. I think if I recall, Dr. Bokey likes to play a6, but no, he plays for Semi-Slav. So I came up with this idea to play bishop e2, which I did not think was totally ridiculous. But we'll see. So b3, this is all still following the course. And now, rather than the big main line with queen c2, I gave bishop d3, which I thought was at least interesting. Yeah, so this one I thought was too aggressive. So I thought I can take this as annoying. Guy doesn't believe me. But I thought we were supposed to go e4 and d5 now, and that white gets some chances. So this guy's blitzing. He clearly knows his stuff. Right, so that's not subtle. He clearly wants bishop f6. Let's start with queen c2 and get my rook to d1. And it sort of feels like this d-pawn could become annoying for black. So let's start by pressuring these pieces a bit and potentially fighting for the d6 break. And also, I could look for bishop c6 next in some cases. So I don't know. I mean, I think the computer said something like this is more or less playable for black, but it feels very risky to me. This d-pawn I have can get very good very fast. All right, so maybe he wants to go queen f6. Let's see. a6 feels like so much asking for it. So bishop c6, I guess his point is queen c7. This feels so bad for black. Alright, I'm gonna go bishop c6. I mean, the only other move I could consider is bishop d7 anyway, and if the only move I'm scared of is queen c7, I can always just play bishop d7 next if I so desire, but I don't think I do. So we'll start with take. And now this d-pawn could just become a huge problem for black. So let's go rook e1. And if he plays rook e8, which I'm expecting, I can go d6, and then all of a sudden rook e7 is a colossal threat. Let's go d6 and get this pawn moving. It just feels like this pawn should be so dangerous. I guess he can take on e1, but it does not feel great after take and say queen c6, queen d2, rook d8, queen f4, and he cannot play knight f8 because of rook e7, and it just... Right, so that one, but then that's just begging for knight e5, I think. And now he will really struggle to stop my pawn. Rook d8. It's not threaten anything, so... Actually, he might be planning rook e6 and then go after the pawn that way. It's kind of annoying. Let's preemptively defend with queen d2. Rook e6, I can maybe play d7. No, I can't. But I can play knight c4, which was my secondary thought. Alright, we'll give it a try. He's controlled this pawn really well so far, but I still sort of don't believe in black's position. But he's played this well to a point. I don't think he wants to let me take. Yeah, so taking e1 makes sense. Of course, I take with the rook. And now, what do you play? Queen c6, sure. So if I go... Not subtle, he clearly wants b5 and to take my pawn. So let's start with rook d1 to overprotect it and get ready for knight e5 next. With b5, I can even consider queen a5, actually. Because rook d7, no, I can't, because rook d7, knight e5, yes, rook d6, so, I don't know. It's the thing about this line for black. I really think this guy has just played a very good game so far, and still it feels like black's position is under very real pressure. This d-pawn is just such a thorn in his side. I mean, I don't know, maybe he'll just go take it from me, but somehow I find that hard to believe. Alright, so knight e4, I have to go queen f4, and then... Let's see. I mean, queen f7 could be possible. I don't think I want to play it next because then his king comes. But knight e5 is a serious move for sure. Right, so here let's go knight e5. I'm not sure what I'm missing. I guess his point is rook d6, but I think I go rook e1 then. But then he has queen d5. Hang on. So let me actually calculate. Knight e5, rook d6. If I go rook e1, he has queen d5, and then he saves it. If knight e5, rook d6, I can always take f7, which feels like, I mean, this has to be right. I mean, I don't think I can just beat him on the spot with rook e1, unfortunately, but queen f7 is always going to be comfortable enough. And here, sadly, I don't think I'm just winning on the spot, but it should be a pleasant position because his king is more open. So let's see, how can I do this? I go queen f5, feels like a good place to start because he cannot play g6. So he has to go back to g8, which he's not thrilled about, I'm sure. And now let's start with rook e1. I think he has to play queen d5, and then my thought is I can play h4 when his knight is under attack again, and I can hope to launch some kind of attack. So he should go queen d5 here. I don't think there's any other move. And then I thought I could play h4. Now his knight really does have to move. And it's very easy for him to get himself mated by some h5 and knight g6. Okay, so there, let's start with h5, and with black I'd be very worried about just getting mated here. I mean, maybe he's fine somehow, but it just feels like he's under tremendous pressure. All right, so c4 I don't believe. I can always go queen c8 and take this pawn. I'm just wondering if I can do better. Let's play for mate with rook b1. d8, sure. It's actually a good move. Alright, what if I go rook c1 and go after your pawn? Maybe play rook e8. Yeah, I'm playing this like a total knucklehead, of course, but I think it's okay because I believe that black's position is under much more pressure than white's. c3. So he wants takes and then queen d1, queen h5. But I think even that endgame he's going to suffer because my coordination will be better. So let's see. Queen h5, take, take. And now, let's say I start with rook a3. It's going to be a little bit annoying for him to play this. Maybe he's just totally fine, but thought I could at least try. So we'll go knight c4. 3, and I mean, it's not that easy to just stop knight d5, knight b4. Alright, so let's dominate the knight. Then we'll go knight f5, keep the king at bay. Cannot play h6. Alright, so there we'll go g4, make some room for the king, and at some point I can swing rook c3, rook c7. Oh, that's a good move. Still think even here, like, we're so deep into the endgame, and I still think he's under a little pressure. So g6, knight e3, rook c6, sure. So we'll go rook b3 and get ready to invade b7. So now my king can come towards g5. Yeah. Deep into the endgame, it just feels like the pressure never ends for black. And now he's probably lost. Yeah, I should win now. Okay, so good game, Dr. Bokey. Very resilient defense. Yeah, maybe I blundered there. That's a good spot. All right, Einstein, let's play with you. Okay, good luck, Einstein. Let's play again. Yeah, guys, I'm not great at Banter Blitz. I just don't play very well, honestly. I'm much better at over-the-board style stuff just because that's how I do all my training. And even then, I'm not a great Blitz player. But, because I've focused almost everything on classical. So, if you guys are making fun of me for being an idiot, you're probably right. All right, so I've never really seen a6 work like this particularly well. I think white's pieces coordinate good here. So let's go a3. I'm sort of anticipating dc4, bishop c4, and b5, so it feels like clearing the a2 square and also making sure that he cannot play b4 so easily has to be a good policy. All right, so that one, I have any number of good options. Just bishop d6 and cd5 gives him a pretty bad structure. I can also be more aggressive with knight e5, which I'm kind of tempted by, honestly, and we're playing Banter Blitz, so I'm going to do it. I think in a real game, I'd probably just take d6 and go cd5 with a nice edge, but here, I'm going to be more aggressive. So let's go bishop e2. We learn a lot from your banters. Well, thank you, I appreciate that. You're a good liar. Alright, so here, I'll take this, and then, yeah, I don't know. I've probably just played this like a total dunce because he should be able to get c5 through pretty easily now, and I could have just been better with the fantastic structure, but... Alright, so that one always feels wrong to me. Alright, so we're going to go bishop a2. And what's actually funny is in a lot of these positions, completely out of nowhere, black can just get himself checkmated after bishop b1. So let's see if I can illustrate that. We'll get some isolated queen pawn position. And then I'm going to go bishop b1. And then it's actually very, very easy for black to just be completely checkmated. All right, so that one may have been a mouse slip because it looks like such a stupid move. But let's say I go bishop b1 now. It's so easy for black to get mated here. Like, let's say he goes bishop b7, and I go knight takes d7 and bishop e5. I think he's already more or less made it up. He's already more or less made there. All right, so we're going to start with this one and get ready for bishop h4, which will be an annoying pin. And if he wants to break it, he's going to have to play g5, which will compromise his kingside further. This feels like good attacking chances. It also gets out of the way of any... that one should not be good. Now I will take with the pawn, and my knight will come to d6. So let's see if the knight coming to d6 scares him. He seems to be unfazed, playing pretty fast still. Alright, send the pawn. Okay, so there, I guess... I go... queen e4 maybe? Trying to make queen f2 and bishop h4 work, but I don't think it does. So I'm just gonna go queen e4 and pin this guy. I was wondering if I could play f5. He's not actually threatening to take my knight anymore, so I'm just gonna go rook d4. If he takes everything, I have f5 at the end and he will be skewered. So, this should help me get ready for the other rook to d1. So here, and then now I think it's all just gone right because bishop h4 is coming. As soon as I understood, as soon as I get my bishop to h4 without anything bad happening to me, the game's just over, and I think this is a perfect example of that. Once bishop h4 comes, black should be crushed. All right, so see if I can put my money where my mouth is on that one. Knight d7, huh? All right. We will put the other rook on d1. And black's like basically stalemated. He can't move any of his pieces. So if he does that, I guess his point is if e4 I'm blocking in my own bishop, but I think it's fine because I will go e takes f6 and then e5. g5, huh? Alright. Bold, but I don't think this is going to work. So let's start by taking this one. And then after gh4, just queen h4 seems pretty darn effective. He still can't move, and the position is collapsing. And if he plays queen g7, I can play f5. No, I can't. He has knight e5, then an f6, knight f3. So he should play queen g7. There's no other move, but that's not going to help. I take d5, and so it looks bad. Yeah. So now, because he gave me the f5 square, queen g7 didn't help. He should have played queen g7 the previous move when I was certainly completely winning, but I would have to work for it a little bit. Now it just sort of falls into my lap. Yeah, queen h8 is not the move that's going to scare me. So we'll take this one, king g7, ef6, and then queen g5 is mate. Alright, good game, Einstein. Let's see if I can... Sort of feeling like a challenge now. Anybody high rated here want to play? A lot of Wendy Testerberger, but Wendy has already played. Anyone with a high rating? Yeah, not really. Okay. We'll play with Fasolaki. Oh, but no, I can't do this because I'm supposed to play white. Alright, sorry, Fasolaki. You gotta play. We'll play with Monty. I think he likes my banter blitzes. Alright, good luck, Monty. Let's have a good game. Alright, so continuing along with chessable repertoire, which I'll spam one more time in this chat before you guys just ready to stop listening, but yeah, it seems to be working well. Alright, more Benonis. Oh, good grief. My last game with the Benoni was not very inspired, I don't think. So I'm going to try to play better this time. Alright, so Monty, what are we doing? So knight a6. Now I can't remember anything. I think it's okay to go a4. I don't believe I'm scared of this knight coming to b4. It looks nice, but doesn't do anything useful, much like a lot of people I know. So rook b8 makes sense. We'll go rook e1. And yeah, now we'll try f3. Oh no, now I remember what I did wrong. I was supposed to play f3 instead of rook e1, and then go knight c4 and bishop g5. Alright, we're gonna try this funky move, bishop b5, and ask this rook where it wants to go. I've played this like a dunce because once again I forgot my analysis or what I'm supposed to do, but it's not totally over or anything. I mean, it's just probably black equalized because I was stupid. But here, if he takes on b5, ab leads to a pretty nice structure for me, and I can look for knight c4 next. And this actually has potential to get really bad for black really fast. So I go knight c4, and now he can play a6, but he's not actually threatening to take on b5, so I should be able to go bishop f4 then. And I think it's a pretty reasonable try for white. Like, black can just lose this game in, like, 3 moves if he's not careful. So, it's actually very hard for him to move. What does he even play? I can try knight h5, but I can always go g4. Bishop d4 check, king g2, and I don't believe the attack in bishop f4 comes next. Yeah, so that one, can't I just go bishop f4? To play bishop f8? I mean, that's such an ugly move. And I may smash with e5 next. If rook d8, I can take on d6 anyway, because I will have e5 at the end. So he plays bishop f8, but does e5 not totally brutalize him here? Let's find out. This looks very bad for black all of a sudden. e5 was not forced by or anything. It was might have been a bit rushed, but it still feels very powerful. All right, so there, I guess that makes sense because I can't play queen d6. I can't play bishop f6. But let's just say I go queen d2 and rook a d1. It sort of feels like black should suffocate under the space. He just doesn't get the counterplay he needs in the Benoni. And it's hard for him to challenge my piece's dominance. Alright, so do I want d5 or do I want rook a d1? Let's start with rook a d1. Let's start with rook a d1. I don't think there's any need to slam d6 right away. d7, sure, but I can always mate this with bishop d6 when the knight on d6 is going to be really good. These pieces are just sort of suffocating. He should probably play bishop e7, but then say rook e8 and rook e1 and queen f4 and rook e7, and all of my pieces are coming in. So queen f6, but can't I take this and go knight e4? This looks totally hopeless now. Once I start slamming knight e4 and put a knight on d6 or something, I don't think black has any realistic hope of saving the game. But we'll see. Maybe he can prove me wrong. I've been playing like a knucklehead today, so maybe it's not so bad after all. But yeah, here rook e7 comes, and black is just so passive. This rook on a8 has never moved. Knight c8 is a threat. Okay, he doesn't believe me about knight c8, so let's see. Yeah, it's hard to play without a rook. I think that's what black tried to do this game. Alright, so just take this, and knight b6 is fine. knight b6, if rook b8, rook d6, queen e5, rook c6, and I win, yeah? Let's actually go knight d6 though instead, just to be safe. I'll take the b5 pawn instead of the b6 pawn. It just coordinates better. So take a knight b5 and now I'm piece up. I'm totally winning. Queen e5, let's go knight c3, protect this pawn, get ready for rook e1. Yeah, sure, that's not gonna help. Neither is that. Alright, so good game, Monty. I misplayed the Benoni again. I haven't reviewed it in way too long. Alright, we'll play with Oops Kitty. He's got Puss in Boots as his avatar from Shrek, which will not win me over the same way Wendy Testerberger or City Walk guy will, but you know me. I like my cartoon characters. Alright, Oops Kitty, what do you got for me? So we're playing another QGD style thing here, bishop f4. And we'll see if this guy can put a better fight. Yeah. So he chooses a more direct line of the Queen's Gambit declined, which is a very reasonable choice. And this line is, it probably, at high levels, this line works because I think Black's position is a bit unpleasant, but if you just prepare really deeply, I believe it holds. So, at a level where just, being able to just prepare a bunch of moves and then make a draw with Black is good, you're good to go. But Bishop b4, I think, is wrong. And now, no, it should be clearly better. I was able to take the bishop pair, and it looks sort of like a queen c2 Nimzo now, except Black has played bishop b4 in 3 moves. He's played bishop e7, bishop takes c5, and then bishop b4, which leaves him way behind on development. So I think that this position should just be unpleasant for him. E7, so let's pin this knight, which is actually often very annoying for Black to deal with now that he doesn't have his dark squared bishop. So he wants an endgame, but I think this endgame looks so good after taking on f6 and taking on d5. All right. It's a little boring though. All right, we're bantering. Let's play bishop h4. I think that endgame was. I mean, that endgame was really tempting. But since we're bantering, we're gonna try to have a little more fun. So we'll go rook d1. I also think that I can go into that endgame whenever I want, so it's not like it's a huge crisis. All right, so let's just keep picking normal moves. And his knight on c6 is sort of in the way and not a very good piece. All right, so he takes that one. So if I go bishop c4, he goes b5 or something. Does he have a good discovery with the knight after that? I don't think so. So let's go bishop c4. And now I have to choose if I'm scared of this discovery or not. If I am, I can go bishop f6 and queen d3, but I don't think I am. I mean, where is that knight actually going? So let's go bishop a2, which I think is a good score for the bishop. That knight has no good discovery. And again, I'm going to try to just mate him with bishop b1, queen d3 like I did in the other game. Okay, whoa. So knight g5. What's the idea? Knight d5? Take, knight f3. No, I don't get this. Knight g5 just looks like it crushes. So let's see if this guy has something in mind. If knight d5, I can go bishop takes d5. I guess he can play hg5 there, but feels very wrong. b4, but this cannot work. Actually a little annoying though. Let's think. So if I go knight e4 is too fancy, right? Might be good, but it's too fancy. Let's not do that. Let's just play queen d3 and keep it simple. He can win a piece now with hg5, and he's not going to like lose his piece back right away, but I still think he's hopelessly lost because of my attacking potential with bishop b1. And also I can always, like, d7 is loose in all these lines, so I think this is just going to fall apart. If knight e5, I always go queen d4. I'm not even down that much material either. It's, you know, 2 pawns for a piece. If I pick up a third, I mean, but yeah. Okay, so what we gonna do, oops kitty? If I manage a clean sheet minus the 1 game where I flagged with an extra piece, I'll be pretty happy. So my thought was I could go queen d4 here. And black should be crushed one way or another. I just have to figure out how. Like, for example, after hg5, I can also go queen e5, gh4, queen g5 check. He has to go king h8, and then queen takes h4 check, king back. This really feels like it's mate. Yeah, this should be mate, I think. So if hg5, I have queen e5, gh4, and then, okay, so he does that. Now he should just lose to, like, knight h7 or knight e4 or whatever. Let's go knight e4. But if he had played hg5, I had queen e5, hg5, queen g5 check, king h8, and then, let's say queen h4 check. He can't play knight h7, so he has to come back, queen g5 check again. And at the end, I finish with rook d4. All right, so that one should just fall apart every which way. Let's just be boring. This is why I never checkmate people, guys. Like, I just see ways to just get some immediately winning endgame, and I don't think twice about it. I mean, here I'm up 2 pawns, and I have totally winning position. So I didn't feel the need to mate him when I probably could have. And here I will mate him on move 50 instead of move 30, but, like, I'm definitely going to win the game, so that's fine. So we'll take this and rook c6, and then take more pawns. Just have to not blunder checkmate in 1 after rook b8, but assuming I'm up to that difficult task, I should be fine. The e5, but I will take this one and then take on a6 next, and then just, yeah, take and have all the extra pawns. Make sure I don't get mated in 1, and then I win. Alright, good game, Oops Kitty. I think I have time for 2 more. Let's see who wants to play. Let's play with Super Fur. So good luck, Super Fur. Let's have a good game. Let's see if Alright, so I think I gave e3 as the move order. There's not a huge difference. After e3, black can play e5, or after knight f3, he can play bishop g4, but neither one are great. Alright, so bishop e6, and I remember thinking this is sort of a goofy line. There's this funny, stupid idea that if I play knight f3, c6, knight g5, queen a5, check wins a piece, but I think I just gave knight d2 here is good enough, if I'm not mistaken. And it's pretty minimalist, like, white is only going to be slightly better, but it's still definitely a nice edge. e5 is asking for trouble, so we go a4, and if c6, I should be able to take and play b3. And I think black's position will be very difficult because following c3, I have bishop takes b5 check, and then his c-pawn should probably drop when I play like knight e4 and knight e2 and get my pieces out. So instead, he goes for just this, but now the question is no longer whether I'm better. The question is, am I much better? So here, It may have been, I don't know, I could have certainly taken with the bishop on c4. I just thought, do I need to exchange these guys? And now this outside pawn on the a file is much more of a weak Isolani than a dangerous passer. I control the scores pretty well. All right, so we're going to knight f3. I'm sort of regretting not taking with the bishop on c4 now, but it's okay. h6, but it doesn't help him. I wasn't planning on playing knight g5 anyway. Yeah, I just sort of think black's position sucks here. He should have played g6 and bishop g7, but I will just go bishop d2, castle, put all my stuff on the queen side, and probably take his a7 pawn from him. So bishop d5, sure. You want to develop that way? Be my guest. Whoa. Somebody has a death wish. Okay, as you wish. All right, so now how do we do this? I think we start with knight e5 so that I can give a check on a4 next without him blocking with bishop c6. And this queen side is going to be blown wide open while black is completely lagging in development, which should put him in a very bad way. Maybe I could have played rook a6 last move, I don't know, but I'm very confident that this position will win in short order, so I'm not going to think much beyond that. Do you find it easier to play against people you have a good relationship with, or the opposite? It's definitely harder. I noticed for a long time, actually, that I really struggled playing with people I didn't like. I'd just be too aggressive and too vicious towards them. I fixed this problem. There's two ways you can fix this problem. One is you can get better at playing against people you don't like. Or two, which is the way I went, is you can dislike fewer people. I mean, you can just be more agreeable. And I think I just became a better person. But still, if I play with somebody who has completely screwed me over, and, you know, there's a small list of people that belong to that category, it is more stressful, but I'm more mature now, and I'm better at just playing the board. All right, last game we're gonna play with Vanessa. All right, good luck, Vanessa. Let's see if she can bust my repertoire. Who would you say has the best chess culture among top players? Well, it may be I should have played knight c3. I forgot. It may be disingenuous to say this now, since in theory he's retired, but I think Kramnik was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, like among the contemporary ones, Ding has a tremendous understanding for sure. He definitely lacks the ability to play e4 with white, but I think that's his only major weakness. So yeah, here Vanessa is trying to play my Semislav repertoire, but it's not working very well because she has had to play d takes c4 without me burning a tempo on bishop d3 and bishop takes c4. So now I think I just have an open Moran where I got to play e4 and black did not get to play e5, so I should just be better here with attacking chances. Like, black should try knight d5, but it feels like this is going to go wrong. For example, cd5 loses a pawn, ed5 has a horrible structure, and queen d5 I thought I could go queen c2 and then try to harass that way, so could play knight g5 here as well. Depends how aggressive I want to be. Queen c2, h6. Can start with, say, bishop f4, and then c5 is annoying. So what do I want to do? All right, we're going to start with queen c2. I don't believe this can be wrong. If h6, probably I'm just going to be boring and play bishop e4, forcing queen d7, and then bishop e3 when it becomes impossible for black to play c5. And then once I have stopped c5, I'm ready to play queen d2 and sacrifice a piece on h6 to give mate. But here I don't believe that so players may focus harder against unpleasant people. That's just not true. I mean, I bring the same level of intensity. Like, I think it's actually harder for people for whom they've just always prearranged draws whenever they play with their friends. But like, I just never did that. I sort of always believed in fighting chess. And for example, one of my very best friends in the chess world is Surya Ganguly, and at some point we played in the last round of some tournament where neither of us were really playing for first, and you'd think we should just make a draw and go home. But like we were the last ones there, played for like 65 moves. I mean, it's just I don't believe in like that kind of stuff. So I guess I've just been used to not prearranging games or stuff like that with people who I'm on good terms with. All right, so I've played bishop h6, clearly playing for mate. Black should try c5, and then I have a few interesting options. I can play dc5 and force some like simplifications. For example, after queen d2, I go bishop d2, bishop e4, bishop b4, and I remain 2 pawns up there even. My structure will be bad and her pieces will be better, but 2 pawns is a lot. So that feels like it should probably be pretty reasonable for me. Maybe not though. She goes rook d1, and then a5. My bishop moves away somewhere. Bishop takes f3, gf3, bishop c5, and she remains 1 pawn down, but otherwise fighting back. So actually c5, I think I should be a bit more careful with. I can just play bishop b7 for sure, and then queen b7 and decide how ridiculous I want to go then. Just bishop g5 should be good enough, though. I don't think I need to do anything more than that. But yeah, this was the whole point. I was able to keep black's pieces from activating with c5, and now this attack should be decisive. So, but no, I mean, it's your duty as a chess player to just, to play the board as best you can and not let any, whatever, past transgressions bother you. I mean, I routinely have to play with people who have totally screwed me over. It's just, it's how it goes. They're chess players. They're allowed to play the game too. So here, there's a funny line after bishop g5. She can go knight c2, which she probably should to look for counterplay, but my thought was maybe I can then go queen h4 and meet knight a1 with knight g5. Taking this one, I think, is very cooperative, though. So I'm going to start with queen h4, stopping black from playing d3, and then knight g5 will come. If I can keep the d file closed and avoid exchanges, I mean, first of all, I can always just take d4, but like, it sort of feels like knight g5 should mate. And if she's not actually going to go like take my rook on a1, for example, like if she had gone knight c2 there and I had gone queen h4 and she goes knight a1, knight g5, I mean, I might mate her, but at least she's taking a rook from me, and that makes her defensive chances much better. But here I think that white should be good. No d3, and otherwise knight g5 is coming, so I just don't see it. It was important that I went to h4 instead of h5, so the black cannot play queen e4. After queen h5, queen e4, I could still go like queen f7 and knight g5, knight e4, but it's just not as clean. I mean, the d pawn gets pretty good then. Vanessa is thinking. Is she going to lose on time, or am I lagging? No, she moves. Okay, but this one I should be able to take on g7, and then I can't imagine black will survive. So we're going to go check and take this one. Knight d5. I think I'm going to start with a check on g5, so it becomes harder for black to play rook g8. Should go king d7, yeah. So now I'll just go rook d4, and I'm 2 pawns up with the continuing attack, so I think that I have managed to hold this together pretty well. King e7 is a good move, though. Alright, so we'll give a check, and then the other rook will come to d1, I think, and let's bring the other rook to d1, and I should be able to break through pretty fast now. Alright, rook d8. Let's maneuver the knight towards d6. What do you make of Hans Niemann's recent outburst after losing a bunch of games in FTX on the road to Miami? I don't know. I mean, like, the guy was upset. I didn't see it, so I don't really know. But I mean, look, if you love chess and you lose some games, it's very upsetting. And I don't know if it was distasteful, but as far as I know, this is the first. If it was, this was the first transgression on his part, and I've always believed, give everyone one chance to say something dumb before you condemn them. So I will continue to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm proud of how far he's come as a top up-and-coming homegrown American player. All right, good to see everybody. I think I have a Q&A tomorrow. Some fun Banter Blitz, and I will we'll see you guys around.